This League Cup final review show is supported by and brought to you by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. And everybody at Craig International wish to thank all their suppliers and customers and wish them all a very happy Christmas and all the very best for the year 2024. These were the scenes at Hampden pre-kick-off yesterday as a magnificent display coloured the stand where the Aberdeen fans congregated with so much hope in their hearts ahead of yesterday's League Cup final against Rangers. You could argue it was the best thing on display yesterday. Unfortunately, the Dons fell short and we lost by a narrow margin of 1-0. James Tavernier with the only goal of the game. It means now that our record in finals in the League Cup means that we have now reached double figures as runners-up. 6 times winners, but we are now 10 times runners-up in the competition. Hi everybody, a very good evening and welcome to this pre-recorded show here on Ali Beg AB TV on YouTube. Once again, unfortunately, I'm having live streaming issues, which I will try and fix over the next 24 hours. So please forgive the fact that once again, this is a pre-recorded show. What I have asked for you guys to do ahead of the show tonight is to leave your comments on my Facebook page, and I will do my very best to read out those comments as we go along tonight. So there's no time restriction on tonight's programme, but I will do my very best to read out as many comments as I possibly can. So let me just tell you what is coming up on the show tonight. Just let me clear part of the timeline for you so that I can get it in. So these are the plans for the show this evening. So I've picked out some of Barry's post-match reaction. I'll give you the match stats, which unfortunately do not make for very good reading. We'll take a quick look at our remaining fixtures to the end of the month. I've got details of a watch-along show for the Livingston game on Wednesday night. Hopefully, if I get the live streaming issues sorted by then. And of course, I will do my very best to read out all your thoughts as we go along this evening. So let's start tonight's show by looking back on the team that Barry picked for yesterday's game. So he went with a 3-4-1-2 in the end. So he decided to go with Slobodan in the middle. I would have preferred Angus, I have to admit, but he played Slobodan between Richard and Stefan. And then Johnny and Nicky played sort of further up the pitch with the captain and Leighton Clarkson patrolling the middle. Jamie just in behind. And then, as many of you predicted and as many of you hoped, Barry went with 2 up front with Bojan and Esther Sokla. So Bojan passed his fitness test, but I have to be honest, I'm not sure he was 100% fit in the game, which we can obviously call upon if you leave your comments on the show tonight. So obviously it was a hugely disappointing outcome. So I'll give you my own thoughts on the game first of all. I just think on the day we didn't lay a glove on them, and that was the most disappointing aspect of the game for me. The fact, and I'll show you the stats shortly, that we had no shots on target in the game. And I think I read a stat now that that's 5 recent finals where we've not scored a goal. And if we all know, and forgive me for teaching you to suck eggs, goals make all the difference. And the fact that we are just not creating in the final third was a huge issue for me yesterday. We did sit in. I kind of expected the game to pan out the way that it did, with us trying to hit on the counter. But every time we had an opportunity to counter, we made a complete mess of it. And if you'd watched the preview show, many of us asked for composure on the ball, to be careful with the ball, to be clever with our passing. And none of that was in evidence yesterday, which is obviously hugely disappointing. I think I counted 3 times where we put ourselves in a really good position to counter, where we were almost 4 against 2 or 3 against 1, and it just came to nothing. And I just felt that we kind of huffed and puffed our way through the game without laying a glove on Rangers at all. And I don't know whether the occasion got to some of the lads. I really don't know. But at the end of the day, as much as this pains me to say, and I will be completely transparent with you, I think the better team won. They created more chances. I was extremely disappointed with some of the comments in Barry's post-match interview yesterday. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get that on just now. So again, just let me clear some of the timeline for you so that I can make room to bring Barry's post-match thoughts in. And then off the back of that, I can bring in the stats as well. So I'll just get that all ready. Right, there we go. Okay, so let's start with Barry's post-match. This is what he had to say. So the players gave me everything first half with transitions. We missed that final pass. We knew they were scared of that, but we picked the wrong pass. Of course it's sore. I told my players that we need to try and get back here. We need to get to finals to try and win. We went toe-to-toe. We tried our best. We tried to fight in the last 10 minutes, made positive substitutions, but we fell short. So here are your stats, and they don't lie. They enjoyed 63% of possession to our 37%, which I think is we just gave them far too much. They had 17 shots in total to our 10. But there's the telling stat, as we've just mentioned, 0 on target to their 6. They won 10 corners to our measly 4, which just shows again that in the final third of the pitch, we just weren't clever enough, we just weren't strong enough, and we just quite simply weren't good enough in that final part of the field. So that just tells you, I think, everything that you need to know in terms of, the way that we went about our business yesterday. So what I was disappointed about was I felt Barry yesterday in his post-match interview. First of all, he mentioned that Kelly only had sort of 1 or 2 saves of any significance to make. He didn't at all. He had half a dozen saves to make, particularly in the second half. Couple of free kicks, and he made some very, very important blocks yesterday. He was my man of the match because he absolutely kept us in the game. Was he at fault for the goal? Could he have done better? I'm sure when he looks back, he'll be slightly disappointed, but I don't want to take anything away from Kelly because I think he's been absolutely magnificent recently. And I was also disappointed that Barry showed, when he talked about them beating Real Betis and how good a side they are and all that. We beat Frankfurt on Thursday night with what, you could argue was not our full-strength team. Okay, they didn't play their full-strength team either, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it was a very, very significant result for us. And I just think he showed them a little bit too much respect, which I get, I understand, and I get it, but I don't think, it's not what the Aberdeen fans need to hear at this moment in time, I don't think. So yeah. Okay, let me start reading out some of your comments that have come in. So thank you for leaving them. I do really appreciate it. Obviously we will talk about the officials and the VAR decisions that did not go our way. So Mark Clark has said, I cannot see why anybody can be happy after yesterday's final where we had no shots on target. If you're happy about that, then you need looking at. Mark Forbes said, I thought we played okay. Should have done better with some of the breakaways in the first half. Apart from a couple of dodgy decisions, I also thought the ref did okay. Tried to let play go instead of booking players for every little thing. Should have booked right later on. Let me keep reading out. Oops. So many of you are really, really angry and annoyed about about the VAR decisions. Jim Donald says, a day best forgotten. Paul Donaldson was devastated, and I think that one will take a long time to get over. I can't fault the efforts from our players, but we just don't have the cutting edge up front and lost a really poor goal. The less said about the performance of the referee, the better. He had an absolute shocker, and I don't remember one decision going our way. Dave Thau said, still gutted. Take all this VAR talk out of the equation as it won't change anything. At the end of the day, if your team fails to register one shot on target in a cup final, then they don't deserve to win any match. Now, I have to say, I completely agree with that, because we should not depend on VAR decisions. You know, we are good enough to be able to win these games without having to rely on decisions. But what I will take umbrage with is, first and foremost, the pull on Stefan Gartemann's shirt by Todd Cantwell. Now, a precedent was set a few weeks ago when obviously Rangers got their injury time penalty against us at Pittodrie for Stefan pulling on the boy Goldson shirt. Now, there was a pull on the shirt on Goldson, we all saw it. But you please tell me the difference between what happened yesterday and what happened at Pittodrie, because a shirt pull in the box is a shirt pull, no matter where it is in the box. If you are pulling your opponent's shirt as he is going to attack the ball, surely a penalty should be given. I don't see the difference. So there was that one. And then obviously there was the one very late on before the skirmish inside the net where it appeared, and I've looked at it closely again today in slow-mo as well, and it looks like the boy Butland does take out Duke as Duke is turning. It was just unfortunate that there were a number of players surrounding Duke and the goalie at the time. But I don't understand if it was checked. Now, I don't know if it was checked or not, but I think it should have been checked. And I think if it had a proper look at, I think it could have gone in our favour. So there were two very contentious decisions. But let's not take away from the fact that we should not rely on VAR. Okay, so Stuart Watt's being very positive here, which I like to see. He said, our team was set up perfectly yesterday in respect to tactics and shape. We just made an absolute backside of the opportunities we had on the break. He says, aside from that, whilst Hayes had an okay game, he should never be starting for us in a game of this level. His race is run. A lot of people have agreed with that. And Shinnie clearly needed to come off at 60 minutes. Folks saying he shouldn't have even started must have their eyes painted on. Now, I have to say, I agree that Graham should have started the game, but I also agree that he should have been hooked after an hour for Connor Barron. I think Connor was an outstanding player on Thursday night against Eintracht Frankfurt, and I cannot understand for the life of me why he was not given his opportunity yesterday. Murray Wright says, we never turned up. Rangers shaded it slightly, a poor standard of footy to be fair. Graham Watson has said, final pass letting us down again. So, yeah, so many of you hugely disappointed. Right, let's see if there's any other comments coming in here. Okay, let's have a quick look. Erica Mitchell has said, never turned up yesterday, very little shots on target. I would have thought Johnny Hayes would have been on the bench rather in the starting 11. Think he's getting past it now, but that's just my opinion. Barry Strachan has said, Dons were never convincing going forward, and Mr. Spark in the cutting edge. Sevco were there for the taking, that's for sure, and it worries me that was our best chance and will be for a while. Ian Fulton is asking, is Barry still our best bet going forward? I hope he gets more time, but needs to use his squad better, or if he's just lost faith in some of them, the January transfers are required. Okay, so please keep these comments coming in. It's great to hear from all of you. So let's just give you a gentle reminder that we have a number of very important games coming up in December. Let me just drag that in for you as well. There it is. And I think I've got, one last thing just to add to the timeline for tonight's program, and then we are just about done. Okay, so let's remind ourselves what we still have this month. So Livingston obviously next on Wednesday evening, kickoff 19:45. Then we've got a very difficult game against Dundee, who are obviously doing very well at the moment, at Dens Park under Tony Docherty, 3 o'clock kickoff. And then the following Wednesday, just after Christmas, we play Motherwell at Pittodrie, 19:45. And then we also have a very tricky game just before New Year at home against St Mirren, who are obviously flying high at the moment, 3 o'clock kickoff there. Now, in terms of the Livingston game, if I can get my streaming issues sorted before then, my aim is to do a live watch-along show. So I'll be sitting here in my studio, I'll be watching the game live and just sort of commenting on the game as we go along. And I would very much be delighted if you can join me and we can all watch the show together. I'll give you more details of that as we go along. If you're enjoying tonight's pre-recorded show, I'd be absolutely delighted if you would please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. All you have to do is press that little red button, subscribe. It won't cost you anything, and you will receive notifications of all shows coming up on the channel. We are getting closer to 3,000. We added 20 subscribers over the weekend. If you could jump on board, I would be extremely grateful. Right, let's get back to your comments. Murray Wright has said Rangers shaded it in a game of poor standard. So disappointing. It's done now. We need to win our games in hand and start climbing the league. Yet again, 2 penalty claims that aren't even looked at against that lot. Stuart Cleary, thank you for leaving your comment, Stuart. Always knew it was going to be difficult to play against 12 men yesterday, but it was gut-wrenching travelling all the way down there for us not to get a shot on target. But we dust ourselves down and we go again and concentrate on picking up more wins in the league, starting against Livy on Wednesday and getting the points on the board. Come Clyde game in January, we are ready for another cup run and quick return to Hampden. Stand free, he says. Malcolm Park, hi Malcolm. Felt we shot ourselves in the foot once again on the big occasion. We have good players in that squad, too good to be set up in a final, not to lose the game and play hoofball. For an Aberdeen side to have no real attacking intent for long periods of the game and no shot in target in a cup final is unforgivable. Do not feel Robson is up and is out of his depth, he says. Come on, you Reds. Stephen Brownlee. Hi, Stephen. Having 24 hours to reflect on yesterday, we defended well, but offered very little in attack. I guess when you play 5-3-1-1 or 4-3-1-2 as we did, defending will be our strength. But surely if you play 4-3-3 or 4-4-2, you will be open to more attacks for and against. I thought our strengths were down the sides, so a right back, right midfield, left back, left midfield, doubling up would surely be more effective. But as a Dons fan, we just get used to falling short all of the time. It's becoming a bit of a habit, isn't it? Dave Cormack has said, personally speaking, I would have kept the same team that beat Frankfurt. Think the outcome might have been different. I'm no expert, it's just my opinion. Oh well, onwards and upwards, he said. Let's get the points on the board against Livy, a must win. David Scott has said, far too negative from Barry yesterday. Rangers were missing numerous players and still we didn't have a go. As for Barry's after-match comments, I thought they were pathetic, making Rangers out to be this great team. Absolute nonsense. Okay, so a lot of you are not very happy with Barry at the moment, which is extremely understandable, and I get it. Gareth Harmon has said, no shots on target was very disappointing. No width until Morris came on. Wish Duke had stayed on his feet too, instead of throwing himself to the ground. Easiest game Butland has ever had. There was a lot of, there was one occasion where I felt he threw himself to the ground when he could have kept going. And also the foul right on the edge of the box where Scott Wright clipped him. I also felt he should have just kept going, because by that point he'd already made the space for himself in what was a very dangerous area and just needed a cutback. So sometimes I just think in situations like that, he does need to stay on his feet. And again, you could possibly argue, just playing devil's advocate, that might have gone against him with that possible penalty incident. Ian Fulton has said, once again, it would appear the team selection and tactics let us down. Sad to say, I think both Shinnie and Hayes are almost past their sell-by date. Stephen Wiltshire said, Robson said his players gave everything. Well, we didn't register one shot on target. That's not giving everything. Barry needs to win and a roll of wins to keep his job, I would say. Stephen, it's a very good point. Lewis Sutherland has said, sorry to say, Barry's tactics and style of play are far too negative. He continually sets the team up to try and not lose rather than to try and win. Either he changes it or the crowd will start to dwindle. Yeah, so many of you disappointed with the way we set up yesterday. David Gold has said, poor performance. Rangers were hardly anything special, but we were terrible. Once again, another comment on Shinnie and Hayes past it. Both been great servants of the club, but time to let the younger guys in. I agree. I think it's about time that we gave Connor and Dante a decent run in the side now. Jeff Bruce has said he was concerned about Barry's post-match interview, showed a loser's mentality. This game was there for the winning. If we'd had a go, we would have won. Elliot Aiken has said Barry had a selection dilemma in front of him after Thursday. McDonald, Barron, Polvara and Duke all played well enough to be considered. He said it's quite simply unacceptable that he totally ignored this dilemma and decided not to play any of them, to the detriment of the squad's chances. Yeah, I have to agree. I didn't overly, as I said earlier, I didn't overly agree with the starting 11 yesterday. Scott Bowie said, seems to be a real lack of belief, which I find strange as we have beaten and drawn them. Employed the same tactics as the semi, but this time, no breakaway goal. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's all the comments that have come in. So, sorry, no, there's more coming in. That's more coming in. Okay, so Donkey Wright. Hi, Donkey. How are you? Very poor game all round. Playing with one up top worked in Europe and at Ibrox. Perhaps we should have started the same. My selection might have been slightly different too. Polvara would have started. I expected us to take the game to them more in the second half, but it just never happened. On the positive, aren't our fans absolutely fantastic? Backed the team the whole game. Yeah, we're just coming up to 25 minutes, so I'm going to call it a night. And I do want to finish on a positive because yesterday, I watched on from afar, and I just thought once again the Aberdeen fans were absolutely magnificent. You sang your hearts out. You did everything that you could to back the boys on the field of play. And I'm just so disappointed and gutted for all of you who went to the game and you weren't able to enjoy any real intent in our attack or anything to get you buoyed, excited or off your seats. But look, we have to go again. We begin now what will be a very important period for us in the league. I have no doubt Pittodrie will be busy again on Wednesday. There's no more excuses now. Cup final's gone. Europe's gone. Now we need to start winning in the league and climbing this table. And it has to start on Wednesday. And we have to go on a consistent run of winning games. That's what I'm hoping for going forward. With more intent in our play and a real intention to get at teams, because that was missing yesterday. It was massively, massively disappointing. Guys, thank you so much for watching tonight. Again, apologies for the lack of the live stream, but I hope it hasn't spoiled your enjoyment of watching this pre-recorded show. So have a good couple of days, And hopefully, if all things go well, I will see you for a live watch-along show on Wednesday night for the Livingston game. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Stand free.